Basically, rule of thirds suggests that we divide the frame that we are capturing in 3 different parts, equal parts, and we try to balance the shot according to that, where we keep our subject matter on left, central, or right side according to what we are looking for. But that basically everything that we see on screen these days are somewhat based on that rule. And even on your iPhone, you actually can enable the grid and see it in there already implemented for you, suggesting right framing for you. 10 major tips for shooting with cell phone, iPhone in this case. First one is keep your shot steady. We can argue as much as we want about like what's the creative means of the shot, but usually in stock media environment, steady shot is better used than handheld and shaky. If you need to make the shakiness of the camera as subtle as you can. Get the full picture meaning that don't necessarily zoom if you don't have to. If there is things going on, if I'm, for example, filming in New York and I'm filming just the Brooklyn Bridge, there is great skyline of downtown Manhattan that's available right on the edge of my frame, that if I zoom out and get the full picture will give more production value because that could be any bridge. But this is Manhattan, this is Brooklyn Bridge. So that actually gives you more creative control. So if you can get the full picture, if you cannot, and if you need to zoom and chop some unnecessary parts out of it, keep it steady as we already mentioned. Focus is huge. Something out of focus is considered as amateur in a video, professional video world. Lock the focus, lock the aperture, or you can always unlock, adjust, and focus again. Balance the exposure. So what we mean by exposure is basically what's the level of light in a frame. Is it lit well? Is it maybe too dark, maybe too bright? Finding the kind of silver lining in between those and keep it in exactly in middle or in the acceptable area. Basically keep it as close to what your eye sees on your camera as it's possible, and trust me, on the bigger screen it's gonna look right too. Keep your iPhone always horizontal. I know how spoiled we are with getting shots for Instagram or wine or etc, and we are used to hold our device like this because we text, we call, we browse this way. But for shooting purposes, when we are talking about aspect ratio 16:9, 16 horizontally and 9 by vertically, that's what we see on our screens, our computers. Even our iPhone screen is 16:9. So we need to actually always consider actually keeping it horizontal and shooting only that way. That's the only way acceptable video content can be created. Try to get the full coverage from beginning to end of the action. Plus get few extra seconds, just because editors who are working with this content that you create will actually need to have time to cut after action is completed. So that extra second or two actually come in handy. Don't limit yourself in wide shots. Try to get same action, same subject matter in medium shots and in close-ups, where you move with your camera or with your lens, zoom in, and you get almost like coverage of the subject matter or action you're capturing. Go closer, go further, go even extremely closer, just to capture that details that might be missing from the wide shot that you essentially will be capturing. With iPhone, even though it's a great device to capture video, there is always the problem with lighting, and finding the light source and capturing your content in as close to light as possible is the kind of ideal situation, where you lose that graininess that comes with dark footage. And also for means of submitting and monetizing your content that you'll be capturing, lighter the footage, the better chance of it getting accepted. Always look at the camera, always see what it's capturing, because what's going to end up on the screen on this big feature that your content might actually be used is what you see on the screen, not what your eye sees. Last tip that I had for today was import and export wisely. Capture the content, copy it on your internal or external hard drive, and upload it. Make sure if you need to adjust something, put it into any editing software you might be using. If it needs to be trimmed to have one continuous action and not cuts, do so. If you need to adjust light or color temperature, feel free to do that. Make sure that your shot is single shot from 5 to 30 seconds. It's basically doesn't have any cuts to it, doesn't have sequences. Make sure you are using the guidelines that at Pond5 we provide, no matter if it's submitted elsewhere or at Pond5. And also keep in mind that our curators are helpful when it comes to giving advice. So if you upload something that you are not sure about, please include the note with your content that you were wondering about something, and our curators are super educated. They know what they are doing. They are all video professionals, and they can provide helpful tips.